Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to try to repair this Bowser T1 locomotive. I built it a good while back, painted it, decaled it, and everything. But the problem, I believe, was one of the wheels would slip on the axle. So something was stripped out or something there. So I finally got some other drives used for parts. So we're now going to see if we can get that repaired. So, and it's really dusty, so it needs to get cleaning too. But to get this shell off, it's pretty simple. These things are pretty simple, actually. You got a screw there and a screw there. That's it. That's the only thing holding the chassis to the shell. It really ain't much of a chassis. It's just this drive bolts there, and this drive bolts there, and then the pilot wheels, the rear ones are attached to the rear drives, and the front pilots are attached to the front drives. Pretty simple. And then the tender's wired in, so we got to unscrew the screw it from the locomotive and unplug it. I don't know if you can see it, but I used one of them 2-wire plugs like I did on that last locomotive. So makes it simple to come apart. I believe this is dual drive with single motor. So let me get this apart and we'll take a look at it. Alright, I got that locomotive shell off there. It's just those 2 screws on the top there that hold it basically. There and there. And then the 1 screw back here that holds the drawbar for the tender. And then I installed one of those 2-wire plugs into this. So a lot of your Bowsers have a permanent fixed wire. It makes it hard to work on if you ever need to work on it or take it on and off the tracks and stuff. So I added that plug wire. And it's 2-wire, and I just, since the locomotive picks up one side and the tender picks up the other side, I just connected both these wires to the same spot on the motor there. And then same with the tender, they run inside the tender over here and go in and soldered in there. So it's a nice locomotive. I think they did a pretty good job on them. I have the Broadway Limited one also. It's really nice, runs well. So I'm probably going to have to disconnect this one wire here for the LED, and then pull this drive shaft off there, get this front truck so I can work on it. So let me get that taken apart and I'll show you. Alright, got some of this disassembled. I removed that bolt for that front truck and put it in a little bowl here. I had to cut it because I had that wire soldered to it, so I'll have to probably put a new one in. It just went like that. Pop that cylinders off. And then we're going to remove this gear. There's a screw, little flathead screw there, little bitty flathead screw there, and then got to remove this flathead screw, and that gear assembly, that top gear assembly will pop off there, should. And then we'll take this other screw out and pop this brass plate off, and then we can get the wheels out. And also got me, these come in handy, little Bowser tool. This is for taking those bolts out of the drives. I've got a couple of those. They're pretty nice. It's just a brass rod with like a little socket end on it that fits these wheels here. These nuts on these wheels on the linkage. Makes it nice. So, I don't know if the wheels were the problem. I'm gonna take them off and take a good look at them. They don't seem loose. So, I don't know. They're spinning pretty good. But I will take them all out, give it a good clean. And it looks, I said I redid this years ago. So, and I couldn't get it to run too good. So we're just going to try it again. And I thought there was a problem with these wheels, but we'll see when I get it apart. And then we'll take the back part all apart and get it cleaned also. I'm just going to go through it one more time, see what the problem was. All right, everybody. Got this thing all tore apart, this front truck. Got it all nice and clean. So, got this gear all nice and cleaned up. And to put this back together, you got this piece. This is the front. So it's going forward. And it'll sit like this. You just lift that up. Set it right down on there. It's like that. And this, I believe, will sit on top of it like that. But you got to put the bottom plate on first. So just try to hold it together. Get it in there. Not much to it. There we go. It's right in place. So I'll add the one screw right there to hold that. And I believe it's a small one. Get it all screwed down real good. I didn't oil anything yet. I'm going to wait till I get it almost all together. Put a little lithium grease and a couple drops of oil here and there. Just snug it up. Then you got these. Flips back. Lines right up that center hole there. Now you got these rods here. Let me see if I can show you these rods. On these Bowsers, you got this rod right there. That top rod. It slides back and forth. And that's what this right here runs on. It slides back and forth on that rod. So these are adjustable. So you want to push them in a little bit. That way when you get to put your cylinders on, let's see here. These bottom rods go in these holes, bottom holes in the cylinders there. Then right above it, you'll see a little hole right above those. And that's where these slide rods, once you get that assembled, slide them in with a little needle nose pliers or something. You slide them right in there. And that's what these will ride on, back and forth. So, pretty simple. Just because you use another hand here to hold this stuff. So, let me get this gear assembly back on there. Let's see, it'll go like this. This mounts up to the shell. So there's just two little screws on the back there. You can see. And then one screw in the center will come through the bottom and hold these here in place. So let me get this back together here. All right, here we got it all back together. So I put it back together the first time and it was making a clicking noise as it tried to run. It wasn't running very good. When I found out that this front mount piece right here goes down and it's got a bend to it where the screw goes through it, mounts it onto the chassis frame there. But right there on that bend is rubbing the gear in there. So I had to file it down so to have enough clearance. So it wouldn't do that anymore. I couldn't just flip it around the other way, then it wouldn't line up with the hole in the shell. So I tried that. So I ended up having to file it down enough to where it didn't rub that gear. So And then another thing I found out here was this slot that gear fits into was too narrow. So I had to file it out and widen it so it wouldn't rub, because the wheels will shift around and it was rubbing it. So, and that was the same thing with the rear truck here. I had to file out that clearance, make it a little bit wider so the gear wouldn't rub, because it was rubbing really good on one side. So, but now it runs, but not as good as it should. I've cleaned the motor really well, but it just doesn't seem like it has the power. Everything turns really freely. I don't know. And everything spins real good. I thought maybe it was a clearance between the two gears on these, but it wasn't. So I had this one spaced out a little bit and it still didn't do it. So I took my little spacer out and put it back to where it originally was, and it's fine now. So that gear was touching that mounting piece and then the sides of them bottom pieces. So if you guys are working on T1s, you might check and make sure that them gears ain't hitting nowhere. So there might be some of the problems in them. And the motor just doesn't perform like it should. It does run, so I'm going to put it back together. I mean, it's an old locomotive, so it ain't going to run like a brand new one probably. It should run better, but it doesn't. And I couldn't see anything really wrong with the motor. It was pretty dirty, but I cleaned it up really well and everything. So I don't know. I'm going to clean up the wheels on the tender next, which will only take a couple minutes. That's simple. Well, I'm going to install the LED back into it and get this back together and clean up the shells a little bit, get it back together and get it on the track. So all right, I got the LED back in this. I got the front pilot on, the rear pilot on, and as you can see here, the LED, I made a metal strip so I could adjust the headlight to go in the shell. And how I did that was use one of them old Athearn top strips and flatten it out and drill a hole in it and mounted it with the mounting screws here and then soldered my wire to it and just heat shrinked it all together. I put a piece of black tape on the end of it so there's a little bit of bare there. I didn't want to short anything out, but I just flattened it out, drill a hole in it, and got it bent around. So now I can bend it around wherever I need to. So that's about the right location, I think, right there. So now we're going to put the shell on, and I'll show you an easy way, hopefully, to do this. And camera in a way makes it hard, but I use these toothpicks, go down in those holes, and then put them in the holes of the mount where the mounting screws go, and then just drop the shell down right over top of it, just like that. And then pull that out, put the screw in. That's about it. Makes it easier. Line those holes up sometimes. And pull that one out. Drop a screw down in there. Tighten it down. Now you don't want to tighten these super tight because it's got to turn. So there we go. So, and then take it, I'll hook that wire up real quick right there. Kind of a pain. Everything's so small. Let's see. Pain in the butt. All Alright, you can see there I got that wire hooked together. Those wires come in handy. So, kind of a little tight there because I didn't have too much loose wire hanging out. I don't want to have very much loose wire hanging out. So, I think this thing's about done. So there it is. Looks pretty good. And those rods, I glued them into them cylinders. So hopefully it'll run decent. You can't get these things to run. I can't never get them to run real good. This old and I think I might have to adjust the LED maybe just a little. That rear truck's derailed. So you can see the LED a little bit. On the other side here, it's actually not running too bad now on the that other line there. This is the third time it's coming around, no problems. I shouldn't have said that. Made it through that switch. I had to put a different screw in for the drawbar for the tender on the locomotive side. It was rubbing that rear pilot truck or trailing truck, causing it not to go around the curves good. Alright, I turned on some other trains. I think that's about the 5th time it's went around, no problems. Now it's going across the backside way over there. Seems to be running not too bad. There it comes again. Don't seem to be running too bad for a single motor. If I was going to purchase one of these again, I would buy the dual motor. But for what this thing is, it's running actually pretty good. See if it goes to the switch again. I went that time. Alright, this thing's been around the track about 8 times, I think. Only had one issue in the switch where one of the drive wheels came derailed. Other than that, it's been nice and smooth. I had to replace the screw for the drawbar for the tender on the locomotive side because it was too long and was rubbing that rear trailing truck. So I put a shorter one in, and it seems like it It isn't derailing no more. Seems to be running pretty good. I'll go through that switch. And it made it. Good deal. Let it go around a couple more times here. I got it turned up pretty good. That thing don't run good slow. We got some other trains running here. Should be coming around the mountain. There it is. I mean, for when they were made and what it is, they are a nice locomotive. Starting to get warm, probably. It's slowing down. We've got to shut her down. These things I don't think are designed to run. I'm going to shut her down. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this video on the repair of this Bowser T1 locomotive. Hopefully some tips on like some of those clearance problems with the gear and the chassis. Had to file it out so the gears would not rub and stuff. So hopefully give you an idea maybe what to look for if you have some problems with some of yours. And you know, just you can have all kinds of different problems with these. But hopefully this will help you out a little bit on what the insides look like, how they come apart, and how to put them back together and stuff like that. They're not really hard to work on. You just have to take your time and check everything really good. Really isn't much to these. This one's the single motor dual drive. And it didn't run too bad, but it went around about 12 times or so. And it started getting pretty warm, so I had to shut it down. I have another two over there. One like this, that's single motor dual drive, that runs about the same as this. And then I have an older one that's single motor single drive, and the front is a dummy unit that just rolls. And it doesn't run very good at all. But I've never had one, let's say, actually run real good. They just run. They don't really pull any cars with them or anything. But they are a nice looking locomotive, especially for their time. And I think first came out maybe in the 60s and on up into maybe the early 80s. And then I have one of the Broadway Limited T1s. Beautiful locomotive, runs great, runs slow, runs fast. It's, you know, if you're wanting a T1 and got the money, I'd say the Broadway Limited is the better one. But if you don't, or if you're a collector like me and everybody else in the world, get the Bowser T1 with the two motors in it, the dual drive. I think that would probably run a lot better. I don't know. I don't have one, but I would think them would run really good maybe compared to the single motors. But hopefully I got some helpful tips here and kind of showed you the inside of these. Really, it's pretty simple to work on. And also, I got this January of 1973 Mall Railroad Craftsman magazine, which has a Bowser ad in it. And it's got the 210-0, and then you got the 282, and then the K4 Pacific 462. And I've got one of those over there. And those ones actually run pretty good, I think. And then the T1 here. And I believe this is the single motor dual drive like this one is, 1973. I think they made them on up. I'm not sure when they switched them to the dual motors. So, but they sold for, with the kit with the tender was $70. I think you can get the tender for $8.75. But it's $70, 1973. That's pretty good load of money, I think. So, but I like to look at these old ads and see what they cost and stuff like that, and just to see what they would be. I mean, the Broadway Limited one's what, $300 or so now. And that one's $70 in a day. So that probably, in today's money, that's probably about the same as a Broadway Limited, as the thing. So, but I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.